Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we're going to be catching up on Tesla news over the last couple of days. I do apologize for missing those two episodes, but thank you for your patience as I've been dealing with some sickness, as you can probably still hear. Not fully better yet, but definitely improved today, and at least my voice works again today. I promise you wouldn't have wanted to hear it over the last couple of days anyway, but thankfully it's been a couple of very quiet news days. Seems to have mostly been taken up by continued sparring between Elon Musk and Senator Elizabeth Warren, which we'll again discuss a little bit today. By the way, if you're not already following me on Twitter, that's the best place to get updates like that when I do have something going on. So make sure to do that at Tesla Podcast. All right, looking at the stock, not the best couple of days, but Tesla rebounding slightly today, finishing up 0.6% to $932.57. The NASDAQ was down about 0.1%. And as a reminder, this is the so-called quad or triple witching day, which includes the S&P 500 rebalancing. So as we talked about a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that this wasn't really significant. I think the price action today reinforces that. Yes, we do see a little bit higher volume, but I think in general, and for most people, those rebalancings aren't really something that you need to pay attention to. All right, first up today, we've got a report from Bloomberg on a lawsuit of Tesla by a so-called investor, claiming that Elon Musk, with some of his recent tweets, has violated the 2019 SEC settlement agreement in regard to the whole Tesla going private saga. Specifically, they claim that Elon Musk's Twitter poll about selling Tesla stock is in violation. Bloomberg writes and quotes the lawsuit as saying, quote, "It is unclear who at Tesla, if anyone, is currently reviewing Musk's tweets," end quote, after its last full-time general counsel left in December 2019, and the most recent acting general counsel stepped down in April, the suit says. All right, so a couple of things on this because this is often misunderstood. Elon Musk's tweets don't need to be reviewed unless they fall under a very specific set of circumstances. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's no surprise that they're not being reviewed. Elon has straight up said this himself, dating back years now, in which he confirmed in an interview on 60 Minutes that no one was proofreading his tweets. So it doesn't really matter who the general counsel is or if Tesla has a general counsel. Even if they didn't, somebody else could review it. But even still, apparently this plaintiff is not up to date because, as we talked about in November, Tesla has had a new managing counsel for quite some time now, and that is David Meisler. Anyway, back to what is actually required to be reviewed from that SEC settlement. It is a very specific set of things that Elon and Tesla have agreed to, and it's often broadly described as something that would move the stock or something material to the stock. That's not actually what the agreement says at all. It's much more specific. To require review, it has to fall into one of these 8 categories. So the company's financial condition, statements or results, including earnings or guidance, proposed or potential mergers, acquisitions, etc., production or delivery numbers not previously disclosed, new or proposed business lines that are unrelated to then existing business lines, projections or forecasts that have not been previously published, events regarding the company's securities, including Musk's acquisition or disposition of the company's securities, credit facilities, or financing or lending arrangements. Keep that one in mind, we'll come back to it. Then non-public legal or regulatory findings, or any event requiring the filing of a Form 8K. In addition to that, there is sort of an overarching one that says such other topics as the company or the majority of the independent members of its board of directors may request if they believe pre-approval of communications regarding such additional topics would protect the interests of the company's shareholders. Now, that one doesn't mean anything because that would be up to Tesla to implement, and why would Tesla implement that in an official capacity that would give them liability with the SEC? I think they would probably do that through different means, which would create less liability. Now, again, note that there's nothing specifically in there about tweeting something that moves the markets. That's not inherently problematic. So I think pretty clearly the only one that could possibly be relevant to Elon Musk's tweet about potentially selling 10% of his Tesla stock would be that one that says events regarding the company's securities, including Musk's acquisition or disposition of the company's securities. Assuming Elon didn't have someone pre-approve this, which I think is probably a fair assumption to make, then I guess it would be up to the courts and lawyers to figure out if this tweet about selling stock in the future would be considered an event regarding the company's securities. Now, obviously not a lawyer, this would just be my own speculation, but I would take event to mean an actual sale or purchase of stock, not just talking about doing it in the future, but obviously I don't know that for sure. I do know that Tesla and Elon Musk have pretty good lawyers that could probably make a pretty good defense. Apparently that's not the only tweet that this lawsuit has issue with. Bloomberg writes, quote, "In addition to the poll and related tweets, which allegedly sent Tesla shares tumbling 5% on November 5th and another 12% on November 6th, the investor suit targets Musk's recent Twitter feud with Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Massachusetts Democrat, which allegedly drove the stock price down another 9.6% between December 13th and Wednesday." All right, well, I don't think I need to spend much time explaining why that's a bunch of nonsense. good luck proving that a few tweets that aren't at all related to Tesla dropped Tesla stock by 10% over 2 days. That's obviously impossible, and even if you could prove that, it doesn't matter because, again, there's nothing in that settlement agreement about tweets that just moved the stock. And obviously, these would not fall into any of those categories. Overall, not something I'm too worried about. Anyway, let's round out the Senator Warren stuff because that has, of course, continued. And despite many rebuttals from Elon on Twitter, Senator Warren has yet to reply after saying that Elon Musk should actually pay taxes and stop freeloading off everyone else. Despite the lack of a reply on Twitter, Senator Warren has continued this message on Facebook and launched a pretty significant ad campaign paying to promote a similar but even more aggressive message calling Elon Musk a thin-skinned freeloading billionaire who avoids taxes and whines like a baby. Elon's reply to this was, quote, "This is such a deeply messed up lie to the American people. She is the one freeloading off taxpayers, while I'm paying the largest amount of tax of any individual in history. Senator Warren, really someone we want as a US Senator," end quote. Personally, I find the whole thing disappointing. Why do we need to demonize someone that's been very successful with the system that we put in place? It's her job to change the system if she doesn't like it, not to demonize those that have succeeded in it, let alone pay Facebook, of all companies, Facebook, to try to push that message. Frustrating stuff, so we'll move on. All right, next we've got a couple of product updates, I guess. So first is on Tesla Insurance. Tesla has launched the new version of Tesla Insurance incorporating the safety score in its next state after Texas, that state being Illinois. Tesla has updated their Tesla Insurance page accordingly. Great to see that continued expansion. We've also got an update on the refresh Model S and X, for which Tesla, in an over-the-air update, has now finally started to roll out the active noise canceling features. I haven't seen a whole lot of feedback on that yet, so we'll have to keep an eye out for some more thorough reviews. Elon did also give an update on a couple of the games that are expected for the refresh S and X, particularly Cyberpunk and The Witcher, saying that it's complicated but hopefully out next quarter. He also adds that, quote, "A lot of internal debate as to whether we should be putting effort towards generalized gaming emulation versus making individual games work well." The other Elon Musk tweet I want to discuss from the last couple of days is in relation to Giga Texas. Elon yesterday tweeting, quote, "Giga Texas is a $10+ billion investment over time, generating at least 20,000 direct and 100,000 indirect jobs," end quote. Always good to have some more clarity on those types of numbers, and we do have a bit of context here from Tesla's Fremont factory, which Tesla says has more than 10,000 employees, and as of May last year at least, Tesla said that they had more than 20,000 employees statewide in California. So 20,000 at Giga Texas alone, obviously quite significant. If we were just to linearly extrapolate from Fremont's production rate, obviously that would point to vehicle production of 1 million vehicles. But obviously, with any new factory, Tesla's going to hope to bring that vehicle per person rate up. So I think this aligns well with expectations above that level. I think some of the rumors we have heard for both Berlin and Texas have been in the 2 million per year ballpark. And I think these numbers here from Elon support that type of direction. Speaking of Fremont, not the best update here, but we do have some more information on the shooting that had occurred at the Fremont factory earlier this week. Fremont PD has given an update on this, and they've confirmed that the victim and the suspect that they have now arrested are both Tesla employees who had reportedly been arguing earlier that day. So sad situation there, and best wishes to all those that have been affected. All right, next up here, just want to check in on the status of the U.S. federal EV tax credit. Obviously been a little bit since we've had an update here, but NBC News earlier this week reported that, quote, "Democrats in the Senate are preparing to miss their self-imposed deadline to pass President Joe Biden's $1.7 trillion social safety net bill before the end of the year, according to 4 sources familiar with planning by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's office." They also report that, quote, "Talks between Manchin and Biden are going, quote unquote, very poorly, according to a source familiar with the talks," end quote. So it's kind of seeming more likely by the day that this is going to drag out at least through the end of the year. And for the very short term for Tesla for Q4, that probably works to their advantage. The uncertainty around that tax credit, whether it's going to happen or not, it's going to make it a lot easier for Tesla to convince customers to take delivery within Q4 rather than trying to postpone to earn that credit. The price increases are also working in Tesla's favor here because in many circumstances, Tesla can require that the order just be canceled and then eventually have to be replaced at a new higher price. So that kind of reduces the incentive of waiting, plus then you're added at the back of the queue and could be many, many more months to actually end up taking delivery. Now, maybe that sounds a little bit unfair to customers, but you could also argue that it's a little bit unfair to Tesla to not actually take the car when it's ready. Not that I would personally have any problem with anyone doing that. People should probably try to act in their own best interests in a transaction like that. But I think it's fair to argue that Tesla then has the right to do the same. All right, last Tesla specific thing, just want to catch up on Elon Musk's stock sale. We did see more Form 4s yesterday evening, another pre-planned exercise and sale to cover taxes, so acquiring about 2.1 million shares, selling the same 934,000, puts the total sold now up to 12.9 million shares, 76% of the way through if we assume 17 million shares is the 10% that Elon is targeting. He's got about 5.7 million left to exercise on that 2012 performance award. So a little bit less than 3 lots at the lot size that Elon has been exercising. All right, last couple of things here on GM and Rivian. GM has started the first deliveries for the new electric Hummer. This will be the first vehicle with their new next generation Ultium batteries. So as these get out there, it'll be interesting to learn a little bit more about that. And then for Rivian, they had their first earnings report earlier this week. The stock is down quite a bit since, as Rivian reported a $1.2 billion loss for the third quarter. I don't know what the expectations were, but obviously Rivian is going to continue to lose money for a long time as they scale production. And in terms of production, they did announce that as of December 15th, so a reminder that this is past the quarter they were reporting on. Their Q3 ends at the end of September, but they said as of December 15th, they have produced 652 R1 vehicles and delivered 386 of those, including the production and sale of their first 2 R1S vehicles earlier this week. They also said that they plan to deliver their first saleable van to Amazon this month. As for their production target for the year, they said that they expect to be a few hundred vehicles short of their target of 1,200. So again, I don't know what kind of numbers were really expected here for Rivian, but I think these results are fine. I mean, it's so early that a small or even a big miss or a beat is pretty inconsequential, and at this point I think it's even too early to try to look at the trajectory based on that. It's going to take another solid 6 or 12 months at least to figure out how well Rivian is doing. I mean, I have no interest in the stock at these levels, as I've said, but this earnings report has no impact on my feelings either way. Rivian also announced that they have selected a location for their second factory. That'll be in Georgia, and they plan to begin construction in the summer of 2022 and hope to start production in 2024. I've seen some criticism of this. I think it's fine. I mean, obviously, Rivian's got to figure out how to produce in the factory that they've got, but I think it's fine to look ahead and be aggressive. They've got a lot of capital. Their production target for their Illinois factory is only $200,000 per year, so when you're out into 2024, or even 2025 if you count on a little bit of a delay, they're probably going to need another factory to continue growing, so I think it's fine to start at least thinking about planning that now, and they expect a production capacity of about 400,000 vehicles per year from that second factory. All right, that'll wrap it up for today then. Again, I really appreciate the patience this week and all the kind messages and thoughts. It does mean a lot, so thank you. And as always, thank you for listening. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday for the Monday, December 20th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.